What's a secret that would completely change how people see you? Before we start, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos. I wish you a pleasant viewing experience. Story 1. I have no real friends. Never really had. I'm friendly with people I work or study with, but after that, we never speak again. Answer. Honest question. Have you initiated to spend more time with them? I always had friends, but especially after moving to another city, I was alone. I have noticed that most people, in a professional environment, are hesitant to initiate. If you just wait for it to happen, it might never happen. Had one guy at work loving soccer, told him he can always approach me in case he has a spare tickets for the local club on short notice. He was totally open and called a few weeks later to go with him and his friends because one of them got ill. Another loner at work is single and goes hiking a lot. Talked at work for 2 years and went to lunch from time to time. Took me some courage but asked if he wants to hike on next holiday. He seemed totally happy and even relieved. Now we go hiking from time to time. Story 2. I don't really carry secrets, but my life isn't really general knowledge either, and I can imagine many would see me differently if they knew it all. I have a sister who is 3 years older than me. She was raped by our grandfather from the age of 4 up until 16 when she finally went to the police. She learned that is what we do to those we love, so she raped me when I was 6 until I questioned what she was doing when I turned 8. When she went to the police, our life exploded. She became extremely suicidal and attempted suicide every day, many times, multiple times a day. To this day, her entire body is riddled with scars. She felt betrayed by our parents, forbidding them to come visit her when she was put in a psych ward, and so I was the only one allowed to see her. I was with her every day, listening to her latest attempts on her life, supporting her, and being strong for her. Then I'd go home and retell everything to my parents, watch them crumble and support them, be strong for them. I was 13 and a victim myself, yet I felt that if I would ever crumble, my family would die. I promised myself to never show weakness, to never hurt myself, to never let my grandfather win. I promised myself that I'd make sure we all survived this. I also decided at 14 years old that I'm done keeping all this to myself, so I told my best friend who I had known since daycare. Never saw him again after that day. He simply couldn't deal with it. I didn't blame him. If I could have just left, I probably would have as well. But no matter what I do, this is a part of who I am, and if people can't deal with it, it's better they leave early. So from that day, I basically told anyone who got close to me about my past and my childhood. In a way, it was therapeutic as well, since I was always able to talk about it. But at the same time, the focus was never on me or me as a victim, always on the bigger victim, my sister. I thought I was fine after all. My sister had finally stopped being suicidal. At 35 years old, after finally finding a treatment that worked, I had a loving wife and we planned on having kids. Life was finally okay. Then we had our first kid, a boy, and I completely broke the moment I held him in my arms in my own home. I was overwhelmed by love for this boy and a panic that told me I needed to keep him safe and protect him. The older he got, the more I realized that I don't know anything about being a father and that I can't really deal with his emotions. Him crying over everything simply triggers me to hell. My therapist thinks I'm basically jealous that he gets to cry over nothing while I wasn't allowed to cry at all. I've been spiraling the last 5 to 6 years now, and at one time I was pretty close to suicidal tendencies, where my mind had begun the process of breaking me down by telling me my family would be better off without me, that they didn't love me anyway, and that Zia was a horrible father. I started wishing I had died in a motorcycle accident I had back in 2011, or that I could simply just disappear. I didn't want them to find me dead, I just wished to disappear so they could live on without me as a burden. It all reached its peak last year when my sister's husband killed himself. I was at their house the day after his suicide, just sitting with their children, listening to their pain, hugging them, and answering whatever questions they had. Many of the questions were about the same stuff I had started thinking to myself. Out of everything in my life, that day is the hardest thing I've ever gone through. I left their house shaking. I knew that I either seek help now or my family is going to have to go through the same thing as I just sat with there. So I used every possible lifeline I could, and one of those was calling my boss, who I had told about my own struggles and my past during these 5 years. She activated our company health insurance and pressed them on the importance of immediate help. In normal cases, it would take them 14 days to start looking into what support they can give, But when it was all done and set up, I had a therapist 4 days from that phone call. In my opinion, that saved my life. I'm much, much better now. But at the same time, I feel like I'm walking on eggshells waiting for the next bomb to blow. My sister has had a relapse and have been institutionalized twice in the last 2 months, and she's confessed that she had a date and a planned way of killing herself. Regardless of that, she was recently allowed to dispatch herself from the psych ward, so currently I'm just waiting to see if we will lose her as well. Obviously doing what I can, but in the end, I can't stop it if she decides to go through with it. Answer: that is so much to deal with. I can't begin to understand how you can unpack it all to work on it, but you have survived this far, so working through it will never be the hardest thing you have done, even if it feels like it in the moment. I wish you and your sister, her poor children, and your whole family the very best in your recovery. Who knows what happened to your grandfather to turn him into such a monster, to do this damage that reverberates through so many of you. But you and your sister are far braver than he and are filled with the courage needed to work through your trauma, which you didn't deserve and shouldn't have been perpetrated on you within your own lives, so it doesn't continue to perpetrate down the generations. Love and light to you. Story 3. I really like to get babied. Not in a weird way, though. When me and my girlfriend hug, I love getting reassured like I'm still a baby. That's it. Story 4. People often describe me as sweet, kind, or warm. I often try to be nice to people, uplift their spirits, and help them when I can. Inside, I am a huge cynic. The reason that I can remain so optimistic is because when you expect the worst in a given situation, you can only ever be pleasantly surprised. I have a low view of human nature, low expectations of most people, and am rarely surprised by the depths of human apathy or depravity. I keep few friends and am only close with immediate family. I spread kindness because I don't think there is enough of it in the world and would like to make someone else's day a little brighter. The reason I do advocacy is because I think it's important to use your voice, not because I expect people to change or strive to be better. This works for me, but it does tend to lead to a huge difference in how other people perceive me and how I perceive myself. Answer: I'm in a similar boat. I'm known for being really chill, calm, and agreeable. At work, I have a reputation for being able to work with the people others find it really hard to work with and get things done. I can make friends with just about anybody I meet. In bad situations, I'm the one calmly taking the lead on figuring out how to fix things. On the inside, I have 2 states, either really anxious or really angry. I can't stand half the people I work with, and my job is killing me with stress. Luckily, I'm really good at keeping all that inside where it belongs. Story 5. I am part of a huge turtle conservation group. I don't like turtles. They scare me. Story 6. I have complex PTSD with loads and loads of toxic shame. My brain is constantly beating me up and telling me that I dislike myself. I experience hypervigilance and often stay in that state when I'm around groups of people. I'm very quiet and keep to myself. Everyone knows I'm different. Everyone likes me, but I'm always excluded and I'm an outsider. I just don't fit in anywhere and never have. Story 7. I'm 6'5", 300 lb POC who works as a physical laborer. Most people are a bit intimidated by me, but years of emotional and psychological abuse from multiple people I trusted growing up has made me terrified of most people. I'm kind of like a spider in that I'm way more afraid of you than you are of me. Answer: this is exactly how I feel, minus the intimidating looks. On the surface, I seem like someone with tons of friends. I come across as warm, engaged, even outgoing in how I interact with people. But in reality, I'm terrified of them. A lifetime of trauma gave me intense pattern recognition. I pick up on dynamics, micro-behaviors, and shifts most people miss. It makes it hard to genuinely get to know anyone, because I usually see the trajectory before it happens. And when it plays out, I can't unsee it. I also don't have family or roots anywhere. No hometown, no built-in community. So even when I want to lean on something, there's nothing there. It's a strange, quiet kind of isolation that rarely gets noticed. And when people do find out, they don't know how to process it. They struggle to understand how someone who looks like me, put together, articulate, functional, could have no one. Most minds aren't built to comprehend real neglect and abandonment unless it fits a certain image addiction, a pole, a breakdown. Story 8. I didn't actually do any college or have a degree. I just started working and obtained my position that I have right now. If I get fired, I'm fucked LOL. Story 9. I was a drug addict for years and nobody knew. I've been clean for years now, but I was living my whole life, job, marriage, house, kids, etc., high as fudge. Story 10. I survived cancer and am physically disabled. Sometimes disability is invisible to the eye. Story 11. I know more than I let on. Let them think I'm an idiot. Answer. This is so me. I was the respected loner in high school and never tried hard, but I probably would have aced everything if I wanted to. I know tons of trivia about random things, and every so often people are literally shocked, but it's not a big deal to me since it's just how I've always been. Used to read tons of books when I was younger. Now it's mostly articles online about every topic out there. My comment is satire. If you're actually like this, take it as a reality check because it's so much more common than you think. Story 12. I'm a sperm donor and have a few children around the world that my kids and ex know nothing about. Current partner knows about it. Story 13. I'm known as the happy girl at the office. I'm bubbly and chatty and welcoming and caring. People remark on it all. The time. Ex? Who's that? The girl who's always smiling. You're the only one around here who smiles. You're never in a bad mood, are you? I'm suicidal. Answer. It's hard going through life trying to put up a happy face. I knew someone who also was bubbly and energetic in front of others, but suffered immensely underneath. Maybe it's to keep others happy. Maybe it's to present a face so no one sees what is underneath. Maybe it's just a way of being so ingrained that there's no other option. Whatever it is, the pain underneath boils and continues to boil underneath the mask, and it hurts. No matter the reason, I hope you know that there are people who care about you. Even if we're just strangers on the internet, I see you. I know therapy can be hard to get to, and sometimes crisis lines are not the most helpful, but I hope you're willing to reach out to anyone and use whatever resources you can find. The people here can help you with finding resources, and I'm also happy to do what I can. You can also reach out to me if you like to talk. Story 14. I was addicted to meth for 10 years. I quit straight up 3 months ago. Don't miss it. Don't care who knows. Story 15. The extent of the childhood abuse I suffered. It was bad, like really bad. Like my dad should be in prison bad. I could have been a monster, but thankfully I got away from my family and did a pretty decent job healing and raising my kids. I don't want people to feel bad for me or think less of me, so I just bury that stuff deep down. Story 16. If people knew how much I constantly feel like I'm not enough, no matter what I achieve, I think they'd see me differently. I seem laid back and confident, but inside I'm overanalyzing everything, second-guessing myself, wondering if I messed up. I've always felt like I have to keep it together, especially as a guy. Show no weakness, but it's exhausting. Most days I feel like I'm just performing a version of myself that people expect. If they saw the doubt and anxiety behind it all, I don't think they'd know what to do with it. Maybe they wouldn't even believe it. Story 17. People perceive me to be a cold, aloof, uncaring guy. I just keep my distance because I'm tired of getting hurt, but I'm basically a golden retriever. Dumb, wants cuddles and food all the time, so on and so forth. Story 18. Probably the fact that I post a lot of pics of my body on Reddit just purely for confidence and self-enjoyment and nothing more. I'm a male, so I'll save a lot of you the clicks in advance. Story 19. I make a lot more money than people around me think. Only my wife knows. We don't drive fancy cars or live in a big home. Just live way below our means. Story 20. I put on a front like I'm all right and life is good, but in reality, I'm struggling due to make through each day. I cling desperately to a love I refuse to let go of, while also making it hard on both us by saying things that are emotionally fueled. Because I believe in us, I believe we can get past the things that have happened, but I also feel as though her heart isn't and hasn't been in it, because her actions weight heavy and destroy some of the hope I've had. Story 21. My creativity and childishness stems from desperation to feel something. Literally, I'm just coping hardcore mode. Got traumatized many years ago, and nobody knows. Been mentally numb ever since. I buy toys from various shows like MLP, Sonic, TMNT, and Batman, and kind of make a crossover by taking pictures of them interacting, printing it out, and sticking it to a notebook and writing the context and making a mini storybook crossover. I even brought a bunch of wax seals letter set and started writing letters between imaginary kingdoms and started building a whole fictional world based on that. I tried getting into learning adult topics like economics, finance, and studying Disney robotics, but nothing seems to spark anything within me. Sometimes it feels like I'm going insane. I'm even starting to believe emotions aren't an actual thing at all. Answer. I'm sorry you feel like this and what let you here. If you ever want to talk about the numbness, feel free to chat. I also felt that emotions weren't real or something I could have in any direction, good or bad. So I might relate to what you're dealing with on that regard. On the other hand, I can't help but to think that you sound like the best DD campaign master ever. Imagination, world building, making up stories on the fly or in advance, and adapting to certain situations with characters sounds like what you're doing already. I don't know if you'd be into this, but I really think you could rock it. Story 22. The amount of physical and emotional abuse I endured right up until high school, the neglect I endured from ages 1-8, people would wonder how I'm still a fully functional adult. Those who did know only had one response for it. I don't care if I told everyone. Only then would they know why I am the way I am. But nobody cares, so I keep it to myself. Story 23. I have been fighting depression for at least 40 years, and there is evidence to suggest I am bipolar. Some family and friends have been made aware of certain details. Some have a clue while others know zilch. But by design, nobody has the entire picture. After quickly planning my departure down to details a couple weeks ago, I am re-entering treatment and may let one person in on everything, because this is exhausting, and one way or another, something needs to change. Story 24. Probably the secrets I have around my fetish. Barely anyone knows about it in my personal life, and I feel they would look at me differently. Story 25. I used to be a stripper, went back to school, and now work as a software engineer. Story 26. I have brain terrors where my brain makes the weirdest shoot while I'm having a serious thought, and if people could see, I'd be locked in a cave somewhere. Story 27. I have brain tumors and will likely be totally deaf before I'm 35. My immediate family knows, and I told a few friends in the past, but we don't really talk anymore. I found out really quickly that when I talk about it, all I get is the panicked, "Oh my God, yortying" look, quickly followed by the, "Oh, you poor young thing, pity manners." Honestly, I dislike them both, so I just don't tell anyone. Not at work, not with friends, definitely not extended family members. Answer: this happened to me. The going deaf really fast part, not the brain tumors part. Being deafened later in life, as opposed to being born deaf, has all the challenges of deafness and then some, because all of the people around you find it extremely difficult to alter their behavior. In short, the sympathy you are currently experiencing may be very short-lived. A lot of my friends, and even my grown-up son, actually get really annoyed sometimes that I am deaf now. They communicated with me regularly for decades, and now all of a sudden they can only converse with me if I can see their lips, and then often not perfectly. That means we can't really communicate in cars, when walking, in large groups from different rooms, in the dark, while sitting next to each other watching TV, while they are eating, if they have a bushy beard and so on. This really tries people's patience, even really nice people. Also, even under perfect conditions, those that have known you for years lose a lot of patience, especially when it comes to constantly having to repeat themselves. What hurts the most is when you ask a friend or loved one to repeat themselves multiple times when you are struggling to understand something, and they just end up saying, "Forget it," or "Don't worry about it." Being deaf can make you feel isolated and lonely even when you are in a group or with loved ones. I am lucky because one person in my life, my wife, will always help me when I can understand what the fudge is going on. But of course, she isn't always there. And furthermore, I don't want her life to revolve around helping me navigate the world. I hope you have a friend or loved one who can help you in this way too. If it's possible for you, maybe look into beginning to interact with the local deaf community and learning your national sign language. I live in a rural area, and interacting with the deaf community isn't an option for me. Story 28. I was once homeless for about 6 months. I was undiagnosed ADHD and really struggling. A lot of really bad stuff happened during that time, but I was able to get myself into a shelter after getting beaten so bad I ended up in the hospital. From there, I was able to get a job waiting tables, and then I met a super rich man who fell in love with me, saw me as a project. He put me inpatient at a very nice mental health facility for 3 months. I was there with famous people. He got me an apartment, paid off all my debt, bought me a car, paid for undergrad and my MBA at a reputable school, graduated both with a 4.0 honors, and gave me a $6,000-month allowance. We were together for 8 years, and I owe him my life. Hardly anyone from my current life knows any of this. I seem like I've had a privileged and blessed life. I have a great job, am close with my family again, and I have my shoot mostly together thanks to diagnosis. I got really lucky, but I've absolutely been through the ringer. Story 29. I've been a content creator for 1.5 years, and for several months I've been a femdom. Only a few people know it. The rest believe that I live from my profession as a therapist, but the truth is that I can't make it grow, and it frustrates me a lot. Story 30. I had a bilateral salpingectomy years ago. The only ones who don't know are the super Catholic family members that it's just easier to not go there with. They judge and pity and disparage me, so I'm good with them, thinking we just weren't blessed with children. Story 31. I tend to act pretty independent and quiet. Aloof, I guess. I seem extremely reserved and introverted, but I am completely addicted to attention. I feel like shoot if I haven't spoken to someone for a few hours, and I can't go more than a few days without physical affection, without breaking down. I spent like 3 years basing my entire self-worth on the fact that someone desired me sexually, and now that we've broken up, I've started compulsively hitting on my friends. Genuinely, the only reason I've started trying to recover from my eating disorder is because my cup size started going down, and I was relying on the validation of getting compliments when I wear revealing outfits to stay afloat. The only person who has ever noticed this about me is my ex, and have only ever hinted at it to another close friend. Story 32. Imagine being successful and wealthy alone. Answer. God doesn't give with both hands, my grandma used to say. Everyone will have something missing, even if you can see it or they don't show it. I envy the wealth. I'm broke af. I struggle every pay period to make bills. I can't really afford to go out and do anything. I'm going to miss my mom's birthday tomorrow because I can't afford to go to the water park. Anxiety over debt and bills piled up to the point where I started to be unable to sleep, which has led to high blood pressure and other medical issues. I can't afford to see a doctor. If something is wrong with me, I just have to sigh and pray it doesn't kill me. But I have my wife who doesn't care about the wealth situation. I have my niece who lives with us. I have my 2 kitties. I'm the other side of your coin, and let me tell you it's rough. I have the love of my life, but I can't afford to get her nice things like her friends get from their husbands. She has to stare across the way and see everyone having seemingly good lives while she works 10 hours a day just to help me keep the lights on. I can't give her the life she deserves. And let me tell you, that hurts. I'm sorry your journey through life is a solo one so far, but you could always meet someone, and I could always win the lottery. God help us both. Story 33. I'm not from this planet. Story 34. Probably the hidden photo albums of Polaroids of my partners and I. Some people would probably be questioning that. Story 35. Not really a secret because I sometimes have to explain to people, but I'm currently living in the town I was born in, but I've traveled around the world and lived abroad for 11 years. My brain works in English, not in my native tongue. People think I'm slow and/or dumb, but I literally have to translate my native tongue and English in my head, taking the info in, and reply back out in French with the same process. I've definitely got better a few years after I came back, but I still go through this process. Story 36. Nobody actually knows anything of significance about me. If they try to know, I'll tell them one random situation in extreme, and I mean extreme detail, so they think they know a lot now when they actually don't. Too paranoid for this shoot. Story 37. I act proper around other people, but most of the time I spend in my bedroom is just me gooning to hentai for hours. I sometimes use 2 vibrators at the same time. Story 38. I live in squalor. Can't get myself to clean or function as an adult. I can't keep up with bills or focus on anything. I have my own office overlooking the ocean and have to act important. Constantly suicidal. Story 39. I'm a massive extrovert. Everyone, my wife included, calls me a social butterfly. It all stems from an absolutely rancid excuse of a childhood. Pops tried, but alcohol addiction got the better of him, and all he cares about these days is drinking. Mom's was an extremely intelligent, manipulative, literal psycho with a massive insert drug problem and neglected the shoot out of me and my 4 half-siblings. I was the oldest, so basically man of the house from 6 onward. Stole food, money, etc. to feed my siblings and could always talk my way out of trouble or give some sad sap story which progressed in my teen years to drug dealing and strong arm robberies with my friends, which fed my siblings and my growing opioid addiction. Attempted to stab my mom's abusive BF when I was 11 and got a short stay in a juvenile psyche ward. Fought a lot, put my little brother's bully in the hospital. People assumed I was just a good fighter, but I was scared shitless before every fight or confrontation I've ever been in. Never been one to run, so when fight flight kicked in and the adrenaline started pumping, I always chose to stand my ground for fear of my and younger siblings' safety. My mom's manipulative side is what taught me how to chameleon my way into whatever situation or group which I would use to benefit myself and my younger siblings. Thus, the social butterfly was born. My wife saved my life when we got together at the end of high school. Saw right through all my bullshit and always said my eyes are what showed her I was in pain, just something she could sense. When we finally talked about my incredibly fucked up past, I broke down and told her everything. Gave up hard, Callie sober, had a kid, and basically vowed to never let my child deal with a sliver of the shoot I've seen or been through. Story 40. In 1 to 2 bad days in a row from drowning in all my vices at any given time. Story 41. Most people see me as super calm and put together, but I have pretty intense anxiety that I hide really well. Like full-on overthinking every interaction, spiral at 2 a.m. kind of anxiety. If people knew how often I doubt myself or rehearse conversations in my head, I think they'd be shocked. I've just gotten really good at masking it. Story 42. My sexuality kinks. I'm a very normal Midwest guy, but in my alone time, I like to cross-dress and wear chastity cages while riding huge dildos. If only they knew. Story 43. It's a secret, so why would I see what you did? Nice try. Story 44. Probably knowing that I use Reddit. Story 45. Not exactly a secret, but that I did in fact not smash my head through a window as a kid. I'm pretty sure a lot of people still believe that I did it, considering that it was only some years ago that my best friends learned that it wasn't true. Story 46. I went through a phase a few years back when I was addicted to workers. Spent around $15K on approximately 25 women from September 2018 to February 2020. Thankfully, COVID happened, and that snapped me out of it. A couple close friends know about this, but I'm pretty sure most of my family members and office acquaintances would be astonished. Story 47. I used to be a victim of emotional abuse and torture. Story 48. I'm this do-gooder, do work with lots of vulnerable people who praise the difference I've made to them. I've won awards for it. I feel I'm seen by friends and peers as this driven, spiritual, otherworldly person with a purpose. I think who I really am beneath that would shock people. That I'm deeply lonely, that I punish myself for not feeling like I can ever be good enough, that I think about hanging myself in the nearby woods. I kind of wonder if the reason I want to help others is so I can feel worthy enough of existing. Story 49. I saved 31 lives as a teenager. Story 50. The unspeakable shoot I did for this country in a shoothole country full of marvelous, generous, truly outstanding people. That and that I was good at it. I'm an inner-office educator for a company who makes widgets. Story 51. Tried to kill myself few times. Story 52. Most people that I know aren't aware that I pick up trash when I go for walks. Story 53. People seem to think I'm good-looking, and sometimes I even get accused of being a man whore. A girl I went on a few dates with said she was surprised I never had a hoe phase I haven't had since I was 17, almost 14 years ago. Story 54. I have OCD. I go to regular therapy for it, and sometimes I come to work exhausted from exposure response prevention. I struggle with anxiety and depression. I'm the glue that holds the department together at work. I think if anyone knew how much I struggle to hold my life together, my coworkers would be astonished. I've not told anyone but my spouse that I have this disorder. Story 55. That once my dog dies, I will kill myself. I would do it now, but it is too heartbreaking to think of him not knowing what happened to me. Story 56. I think about killing myself on the daily. Not going to, but YK. Story 57. I worked in news. KY Senator Mitch McConnell came to the studio for an interview, and I was the one to mic him up. Before he came to set, I took the lav mic, shoved it up my jerk, then set it back on the table. He was mic'd up with the stink mic by me. Story 58. I'm just shy. I'm not a bad person. I don't ignore people because I dislike them or feel I'm better than them. Story 59. I keep a mask on to everyone, even strangers. As soon as I'm pretty sure no one is looking, the smile drops. Even if I'm across a large room and know someone could possibly glimpse me, I keep the mask up. The few times it slips when I get frustrated, annoyed, or try making a joke that doesn't quite match my friend's humor, I can feel the energy shift. My natural response is to double down on the mask and try to subtly overcompensate. I'm exhausted all the time. On a definitely completely unrelated note, does anyone know of a way to get rid of knotted muscles and shoulder blades and along the spine that doesn't cost a ton? Story 60. I banged multiple friends' moms. Story 61. TLDR. Former fit guy who gained some weight and is secretly happier. I, 40-ish male, put on about 30 Wildfire rubies of weight since the pandemic in 2020. I stopped working out, but I still play lots of sports every week. I feel more confident with my paunch belly than when I had abs. I know I receive mixed reactions, but I think I generally receive more interest from both women and men, I'm bi, with my current dad bod physique. I know others have asked if I'm okay because of the weight gain, and I'm not sure how to answer that. My priorities have changed in life, and I've allowed myself to enjoy living, eating, drinking, etc. Although I've cut down on consuming alcohol and have been eating a lot healthier, I also enjoy my bigger self. I feel like society wants me to feel shame. Story 62. I'm a sociopath who hates everyone I've tricked into loving me. Story 63. I don't enjoy the company of others. I'm a young, attractive, and athletic woman in my 30s. I'm married and have a dog, and those are the only two beings I care for. I don't care to seek friends or acquaintances outside of this. Every so often I try, but I'm a bad liar and I can't hide how uninterested I truly am with others. I don't care for my family members, aside from my mother who I feel a basic obligation to care for. I don't like my husband's family at all. I wasn't always this way. I'm not sure when it changed, but you'd never know. I work in the service industry, both in hospitality and fitness. My job is so talk and be likable. I'm great at it, but I would never let anybody in. Story 64. I'm not exactly straight, not gay, but not straight either. Both sides are fun. Story 65. Most of my close friends already know, but I used to be a pretty big drug dealer in my area. Quit that shoot about 6 years ago because I couldn't shoulder the weight of possibly being responsible for someone's death anymore. Once I really started thinking about it, I realized how big of a POS I was, man. Story 66. I'm getting closer now to being a closeted atheist. Too close than my family and friend assume or expect. Story 67. Not a secret per se, just something I wouldn't bring up and wouldn't feel comfortable admitting, though I do tend to be compulsively open if people happen to ask the right questions. But basically, on the surface, I'm a very kind, rational, and friendly guy. Not to stroke my own horn, but it's something I more or less maintain with everyone, and virtually everyone I know would struggle to criticize me on my manner and form. But in the past, I had some mental health issues and have struggled with overwhelming and horrible intrusive thoughts. And in certain circumstances, these intrusive thoughts took me to some pretty dark places. Not necessarily to the point of committing actions that were impossible to step back from, but definitely being a rather brutal and heinous person. And parallel to that, while I now and for many years have been an absolute pacifist and strongly avoid conflict, I have had and still have deep and occasionally implacable anger issues. Anger so fucked up that it's borderline still psychotic. I've gotten good at handling it in the sense that I haven't let it break out for many, many years. But often when conflict arises, I can especially feel it still there, deep, turgid, and raging below the surface, just hoping to break out. Like another side of me that's flipped under the surface and just hoping to show itself. It's why I avoid and try to de-escalate conflicts at all costs. And part of it is still the remnants of those twisted thoughts, furious anger, and undeniable and heavy sadism. I guess to clarify, if people knew about my past and the things I've been involved in, and the consistent precariousness of my mental state in various situations, I doubt they'd ever feel truly comfortable around me. Story 68. People that know me know I was a soldier. My tattoos give me away. But only two know how hands-on my role was, so to speak. My wife and my dad have both dealt with me when I've been in despair and at my lowest as a result of the things I've seen and been a part of. They are angels for putting up with that shoot. My coworkers don't know I suffer with PTSD and more so these days with bouts of depression. Most of my friends, apart from one very close one, have never seen me like that. When I feel it coming on, I just disappear for a few days from day-to-day life and self-isolate until I'm ready to be a functional human and feel comfortable to be around others. 90% of the time, I'm the most relaxed, fun-loving, 36-year-old surfer who lives for the ocean and the waves. I have a close social circle. I live in a small coastal town, so have many acquaintances on top of that. I'm well known in the surfing and fishing community and hopefully well-loved, or at least that's the vibe I get. I'm the sort of guy who says good morning to strangers and familiar faces as I pass. I build friendly relationships with my barista and food market vendors. I will wish you a beautiful day and mean it with all my heart. I hide it well, not because of shame or guilt, but because that's the kind of image I want people to have in their mind when they think of me, because that's who I am. Not a 20-something clearing compounds during 3 tours in Afghanistan. I won't share the details. You don't need to know. That's the old me. A version of me only my brothers from my unit will ever know. I worry people would see me differently or in a different light because they don't know or understand what their country was really involved with for 20 years over there, what it was like on the ground and what we went through. I love that for them and definitely don't want anyone feeling sorry for me. My worst nightmare. I wouldn't want any civilian to have that in their heads or to really know what it was like. It wouldn't be fair to burden them with it, even if I could make them understand. So yeah, that's my secret. Thanks for being perfect strangers. Story 69. Even though I talk about it, I don't think my friends realize how hard it is for me to socialize. I don't dislike it. I just tend to overthink about it a lot before, during, and afterwards, and it takes a lot out of me. We often joke about how hard it is to offend me, but in reality, I'm just surprised they even put up with me. I rarely initiate interactions, and I feel like they're already making me a favor by including me. I can't really talk about it because then I wouldn't be able to tell if they really want to hang out with me or if they're just trying to cheer me up, and I wouldn't know how to make it up to them. Story 70. Always laugh and smile in the office. Help people with issues. Tell everyone to come to me if they are struggling. Same with friends and family. Deep down, I dislike them all and don't care about their problems. But if you let on to them how you are feeling, people act strange around you. Smile and wave. Story 71. I'm the hospital patient that had a foreign object stuck up there. Story 72. I was sexually assaulted by a girlfriend years ago. Almost no one knows. I'm 6 foot, 180 lbs. I do construction for a living. I could tell anyone. I don't even tell girlfriends, the few I've had since. She was 5'7" and 90 lbs. People either would think I'm weak or I'm lying. The reality was I couldn't make myself hit her to get her to stop because I didn't want to hurt her, which I know is just beyond fucked up, but I loved her. I think about it every day at some point. Story 73. I made more money selling foot pics on OnlyFans last year than I did at my full-time job. My parents still think I'm a struggling graphic designer. Story 74. Probably if they knew I was attracted to people years older than myself for my whole life, like I was 9 and they were 33. I was in my 20s, attracted to people in their 70s. I think people would think I was gross or weird or whatever. Story 75. The filthy thoughts I never share. Story 76. I manipulate everyone around me. Some people get to kind of see my true self in the best way. Others see the best of the best. Most people think I'm an amazing human who cares about people. I don't care. I will never care. Just because I don't care or have emotions doesn't mean I'm going out of my way to make people's lives worse. I don't have emotions, but I still try to make life better for others if can. Story 77. I lack empathy. It's not like I don't understand what other people have been through. If I just never been able to process or feel their pain or sometimes care. I also struggle to understand love. I'm not exactly sure if I ever loved anyone. Like I care for people, my dad, my sisters, etc. I check on them regularly. I think about them. I'm happy if they're happy, but it isn't a shattering feeling. I don't really understand why I am the way I am, but I feel guilty. Story 78. That I like to wear, lick, and sniff my wife's dirty panties and jerk off, and that I love to shove large objects in my ass. Story 79. I love casual with men and women. Story 80. When people ask how I'm doing, I respond with, I'm here. I'm a disappointed tone. They think I'm not happy at work and think I'm trapped. But I really say it because I woke up this morning. Story 81. Lots of people are aware that I have a history of mental illness. I'm guessing they wouldn't be nearly as okay knowing that I had 6 psychotic episodes. Story 82. The inside of my mind is the opposite of how I present to the world. I always try to give off positive energy, be cheery, and very chill about things. Always try to be very friendly and kind to people I encounter. My GM always tells me that everyone loves me and I'm such a people person. But truth is that I've always felt like an alien who no one truly understands. And that I was just always different from everyone, even though I've always fit in. I felt and still feel like a chameleon. 95% of the time, inside of me, I feel deep, deep sadness, pain, mostly always there. I've been this way since probably 8 years old. I present as positive BC. I don't see another option. I don't want anyone to feel sadness for me, or pity me, or think I'm weak. I also just don't want to make anyone feel bad. But yeah, I think people would be surprised, look at me different if they knew half the shit I've been through and seen, and how I actually feel. The depressing ass thoughts that I fight and that linger in my mind every day. The people that I miss that are gone. But that's life, I guess. I hope y'all are all doing okay. Many blessings to you all, and I truly hope you have good lives. Story 83. I struggled with homicidal ideation. And the only people who know about this are my therapist and one of my friends. I never had the urge to hurt animals. I dislike to see animals suffer. I just held a lot of hatred towards those who have been major sources of my suffering, and that hatred slowly turned into thoughts of killing those people. Even though I don't want to harm them anymore, I still believe I have valid reasons to want to. That whole explanation would be a little too long for here. I have also come to learn that those people are not worth my time or energy. I don't tell other people in my life about this for obvious reasons. Those close to me know I am pretty quick to anger, but they also know I am very quick to deal with it. They probably have seen the signs, but I would probably be perceived as less than if more people were to know this about me. Story 84. I was a gambling shut-in. I'm still in recovery since mid-Feb this year, but I've gone from spending thousands of dollars to 100 max. I'm trying to work it down more since it was so bad I was in debt and constantly anxious. I became a shut-in because I have extremely bad anxiety and diagnosed OCD, which I think contributed a bit, but in September it got so much worse. I was afraid to get groceries, to be seen outside, etc. I coped by spending thousands on gambling daily. A bit of it was on gambling-based games, which I know some don't view that as actual gambling. Point is, I was betting all of my money and then some on non-guaranteed things that often made me more nervous and frantic after the "I feel great, let's do more" feeling ran out. Most of it was a haze and me trying to feel better and happier. I only stopped because my entire family found out and sort of held an intervention. I worked off my debt, but still struggling to get back on my feet. Part of that is life circumstances that are unrelated regarding illness. Sorry if certain parts don't make sense. I am super sleepy alone. Story 85. I have a penile implant. To some folks they go, "Ah, no," but to a few they realize the possibilities of a penis that does not go flaccid. Story 86. Most of my clothes are girl clothes. They're softer and lighter, and you're jealous of me right now. Story 87. I'm very successful in my business. I get flown around the world to do what I love. I earn decent money, and I'm well respected as a creative pioneer in my industry. From the outside, it looks like a dream, but I'm trans, a man who wasn't born a man, and that colors everything: my self-confidence, my relationships, and sometimes what I can say yes to. I worry about stressful situations on a whole other level because of my body. What if I got injured abroad and had to go to hospital? What if I got searched at the border? What if I went to prison? Worst of all, what if someone outed me and it happened in a very public way, where I was in control of how or when people found out? I know that if I'd been born as myself but male, looking like either of my brothers, the physical and emotional ease that comes with that would have opened so many doors. I avoid thinking about my trans status too much, and I try not to dwell on the what-ifs, but they creep in when I have to deal with the consequences of having a different kind of body. And I do worry. Mostly that if people saw me unclothed, maybe they'd stop seeing me as a man, even be disgusted by me. It's a lot to carry. I do grieve the freedom so many people don't even realize they have. The ease of meeting and going home with someone, of not needing to calculate who's safe to be intimate with, even just being able to be choosy about who you partner up with. I know most girls wouldn't want me once they know. That's just life. I'm not one of those activists who thinks it's transphobic if a straight girl doesn't want to date me, a trans man. I've been a man for almost 20 years of my 40-year life, and mostly everything is great. I am lucky. I just wish I'd been born in the right body. I've made the best of what I have, but people really don't see what it's taken. The more visible and admired I become, the heavier the secret feels, like it's living in the walls of everything I've built. Story 88. I dislike Republicans. They vote against their own best interest, believe whatever Fox News tells them, clutch their pearls over the dumbest crap constantly, but I used to just ignore them. Now I dislike them. Story 89. I am a porn pervert. I watch it all. Nothing extreme, but do not think anyone that knows me suspects that. Story 90. I have had 3 abortions and I am 25. Story 91. If my current colleagues actually knew what went on in the war zones I was in some decades ago, they would never look at me the same. Nothing illegal on my part, just horrifying. Story 92. I like rom-coms, romantic stories, and novels. I'm a 35-year-old guy, and usually when I talk about entertainment, it's science fiction, documentaries, etc. Never really talked about that, but with some people. Not like I'm ashamed of it. Most 35-year-old guys just aren't interested in those. Story 93. I work in manufacturing as an engineer. I would never be taken seriously at work again if my coworkers knew that I vote left. And yes, I am in the southern United States. Story 94. I get a hangover basically every time I drink, even just after a few beers. My friends seem to think that I'm some sort of professional drinker of sorts because I have a pretty good handle on myself when I'm drunk. In truth, I've been thinking of quitting alcohol, or I guess just slowly phasing out of it once I actually get a real job. Story 95. Stop asking me for my secrets. Story 96. Not a big one for this thread, but I'm a bisexual who made the choice to stay in the closet. I don't want people to treat me differently, so I just play along as a straight guy. Story 97. My kinks and fetishes. God darn, are they never getting leaked. Story 98. I think about the inevitable eternal nothingness after death pretty much every day. And no, I'm not suicidal. Keeping in mind that my life will eventually be over for good, and there will be nothing beyond that point makes me hellbent on what actually matters to me. It also makes me completely immune to getting caught up with bullshit that doesn't matter, like what other people think about me or expect from me. Story 99. I lost my first 3 children due to neglect. I now have 2 more children still living with me. Everyone thinks I'm just a mum of 2. I have to lie when people ask me how many kids I have. Only my partner knows. Story 100. There is nothing I could ever say to change how someone views me. It's their own subjective view, so sometimes the more you say can even make it worse. Story 101. I broke the toilet at the mall. Story 102. I've sometimes closed off all possibilities for having friendly relations with people, not because I didn't want them, but because I believe bringing them into my dysfunctional familial dynamic would create more problems in the end. So, self-alienation, self-denial felt like the better survival move for all parties, but it often made me feel terrible. Some of those people, if ever it crossed their mind, probably thought I was just cold. If only they knew. Story 103. I want to know, why would people reveal here? Story 104. That I actually enjoy being alone way more than being around most people. Story 105. If I make a wrong move at work, a disaster that could end up on global news could happen, and there are thousands of nerds just like me looking at this or that just to make sure that doesn't happen. Story 106. By day, I'm a corporate professional in a government job. I make a lot of spreadsheets, am very well respected and extremely professional. By night, I'm a professional drag and burlesque performer of minor renown. Strangers pay decent money to see my ass. If my coworkers at my day job knew I was a gender-weird stripper on the side, I think they'd be very surprised. Story 107. I'm emotionally dead. I put on a very good show of expressing emotions and feelings, but inside I feel nothing. Story 108. How severe my depression is. Story 109. I'm afraid to be sober. I have spent my entire adult life as an addict. I'm afraid of people too, to the extent that I isolate myself 99 of the time. Story 110. A secret that would probably change how people see me? I have a body count of over 250. I'm a male. Most people wouldn't expect it. I've always carried this good guy vibe. I'm well respected, loved in my community, known for being stable, emotionally intelligent, hardworking, and grounded. But people often say there's something deeper in me, like there's a mystery. And to be honest, there is. There's a darker side. I joke sometimes and say the devil lives there. I've never been ashamed of it, but I've reflected on it. I never lied or manipulated anyone. Every experience was consensual and mutual. We had fun, but still I knew I was abusing my power a bit, my charm, my edge, my presence. I sit in that middle ground between the good guy and the bad boy, and that tends to attract people. So when opportunities came, I didn't say no. I never felt guilty, but deep down I always knew it felt a little empty. Like I took something that wasn't fully mine, even when it was offered. That's the part most wouldn't expect, that under the surface, even with all the fun and the high status, there was still a void, something unfulfilled. Story 111. I judge everyone by their intelligence, and am way more open and friendly to intelligent people. Story 112. I have cancer. I don't want to be pitied, and I'm going to have surgery to get it removed soon, so I don't feel the point to tell many who aren't family and like 1 or 2 friends. Story 113. My husband and I swap with other couples. Story 114. You wouldn't know it, but I caused a historical event. They removed me from the Wikipedia article. The government is hiding it from you. Story 115. I'm a lot more attentive than people think I am. Story 116. The actual sheer amount of trauma I've somehow both lived through yet am still somehow alive to tell the tale. Story 117. If I say I dislike you, I'm just jealous of you for having friends and being normal. Story 118. I'm a prosecutor who is in my own domestic violence relationship behind closed doors. Story 119. Good try, FBI. Good try. Story 120. I'm known as the silly, helpful, happy-go-lucky, funny guy, always positive, always smiling. They'll never know that I have major depression, borderline personality disorder, take upwards of 8 pills a day, and am statistically most likely going to die by suicide in the next 20 years. Story 121. Not really change the way they see me, but most people who don't know me well don't know I'm a metalhead. I really don't look like the stereotype. Story 122. If I told you, then it wouldn't be a secret now, would it? Story 123. My wife and I divorced about 2 years ago. We are both well known where I work. She got another job shortly before we got divorced, and we didn't announce anything. I think we're still married according to FB, but I don't really use it. Only a few people know because I don't talk about it. Most people just assume we're still married and ask me about her. I'm still on good terms with her, so I tell them how she's doing. At this point, I'm more curious how long this can go on. I think I can draw it out to retirement. Story 124. I once pretended to like something for years just to fit in, but the truth is I hated it the whole time. It's funny how much well-been just to feel accepted. Story 125. I am kind to people because I don't want them to turn out like me. I seem put together, but my entire life is a mess. A lot of people brush it off because I'm younger, but I have no friends who are close by and no family. Having no support in critical times has caused me issues with my emotional health that I don't want to see someone else struggle with. Story 126. I was raised in the Deep South, adopted from New Orleans. My parents thought I was Cajun of some flavor, or at least that's what they told everyone. I learned 55 years later that I was Jewish. That would have changed how people related to me. Story 127. To most people, I'm very sweet, bubbly, and upbeat. I am extremely kind and gentle to almost everyone in my life, either family, friends, or strangers. But I actually have borderline personality disorder, and hardly anyone ever sees that I have a complete polar opposite side to me. I become filled with rage, uncontrollable outbursts of anger, crying until I can breathe every night, unable to leave the house. My emotions switch from one extreme to the next constantly. This only happens in front of those I am very close with or comfortable with, and it's almost always a romantic partner. It's hard to live with. Story 128. I spend a lot of time on Reddit answering stupid questions. Story 129. I am a licensed therapist, and I do not enjoy listening to everyone's feelings outside of my office hours. I want to be able to hang out and get together without being constantly sucked into their lives' poor decisions and giving them free therapy. That I do not enjoy my certain person's company anymore because they have been stuck in a toxic relationship for more than a year. And lately, I only feel like an agony aunt and not their friend anymore. But I do not have much friends anyway. So where will I go if I express that to people? Story 130. I'm the guy with the biggest smile in the group, always curious and jolly. And people ask me, how are you always happy? Truth is, I'm not. I think about killing myself every night. Story 131. V never told anyone I was homeless for a year. People might judge, but it taught me resilience and empathy, shaping me into someone who values kindness over status. Story 132. Me too. Wish I knew how to be friends with everyone. I just want to have fun, plan trips, do something extreme. Answer. Honestly, a good 90 of my friends are my friends from school. About 3 people who I've spent years working with have become kind of friends. We see each other outside of work very occasionally, but for the most part, it's just old childhood friends that never lost touch. IDK how to make friends now. I go to a sports club sometimes and am friendly with people there, but I never really connect with anyone. I couldn't call any of them friends. I haven't made a new, proper friend since I was like 12. I'm in my 30s. Story 133. Honest question. Have you initiated to spend more time with them? I always had friends, but especially after moving to another city, I was alone. I have noticed that most people in a professional environment are hesitant to initiate. If you just wait for it to happen, it might never happen. Had one guy at work loving soccer, told him he can always approach me in case he has a spare tickets for the local club on a short notice. He was totally open and called few weeks later to go with him and his friends because one of them got ill. Another loner at work is single and goes hiking a lot. Talked at work for 2 years and went to lunch from time to time. Took me some courage, but asked if he wants to hike on next holiday. He seemed totally happy and even relieved. Now we go hiking from time to time. Answer. I consider myself a fun person and do have plenty of friends. But with most of them that are not super close friends, I have to initiate meetings almost always. Was pondering that a lot when my brother talked about the same thing, and he is super outgoing, very big social circle. I think we would all wish to just be always invited all the time, but unless we are a list celebrities, it takes work and effort. Plan things yourself. Indeed, most often people are happy and come along if you ask. Please ignore autocorrect random capitalization. Story 134. I don't have any friends. I don't even know how to have a conversation. Story 135. I don't really have any friends either, but I've had true friendships before. It's wonderful, and I hope you get to experience it in your life. Story 136. Friends come with obligations. It can be freeing to just see people you have a reason to be with. Story 137. I feel this, even with hobbies and interests. Some kind of X factor that never made it easy to connect with people past the surface. Story 138. Reading this pinched something deep in my soul. Story 139. Same here. How do people stay close with their friends? Story 140. I literally just ask people, like a child does. Hey, you want to be friends, buds? It works surprisingly well. I know that's not easy for everyone to do, but if you're easy to get along with, give it a try. Story 141. We never talk about how difficult it is to maintain bonds of friendship. We always hear about how to sustain a couple, how to cultivate a relationship with your children or parents, and never talk about friendship, which is one of the most important relationships we can have, and at the same time the most delicate to maintain. Story 142. I'm the same. I want to have friends, but the idea of trying scares me. I'm surprisingly able to date because it's a stronger motivator than social anxiety is an inhibitor, so I have my wife and her friends as friends but no one else. Story 143. I feel like I'm in the same boat. I used to be very extroverted and never lacked for friends and people to hang out with, but my friends haven't stuck around for various reasons. Most have ghosted me or created some weird drama, and I cannot fathom why. I'm considerate, funny, open-minded, easygoing, and respectful of all types of people. But over the years, I have developed this doubt too, if I'm a good person or not. Because even after deep reflection on the situations and who I am as a person, I don't understand why people ended up acting the way they do. And so I figure it's me who is the problem, since it's happened so many times. You know the saying, if you smell, shoot everywhere you go, it's probably under your shoe. Except I don't know what I do to drive people away. I don't see the shoot. And now, as an adult with kids and a partner, I at times feel extremely lonely, even though I have my family. I really love and appreciate my family, but I feel like I need a friend to talk to and do stuff with. It feels like a part of me is missing, that I don't do social stuff with friends. And at my age and position, I don't know how to make new friends. It feels so hard, and that deepens my feelings of loneliness. It's so depressing sometimes. My partner and I have been talking about getting married soon, but I don't even know who'd I pick as best man. And realistically, it will probably be my son. Story 144. I'll say the same thing I said to one of my lifelong friends, which I said over 30 years ago. You want to be friends? Story 145. Literally no clue how people make friends and arrange to do stuff. Like I know how to ask a girl out on a date, but not ask another dude to hang out. Story 146. I feel this one deep down. I pretty much have my husband and kids, my parents and siblings. I'm so lucky to have them, but I have no friends. I miss sharing that bond with someone. Story 147. Well, at least you wouldn't have to deal with betrayals. Story 148. Yep, same. Like I have some people's numbers, but we never talk via texting either. Story 149. I'm the same. I never considered people friends out of school or work. I wouldn't hang out with them out of work school. Now as an adult, I tried making friends multiple times, but then realized I'm okay just having one friend to talk to. Even tried making friends for Phasmophobia on PCS5, but realized I'd rather play alone. I guess I don't know what I want. Story 150. I can relate darn well to this. Story 151. That is so much to deal with. I can't begin to understand how you can unpack it all to work on it. But you have survived this far, so working through it will never be the hardest thing you have done, even if it feels like it in the moment. I wish you and your sister, her poor children, and your whole family the very best in your recovery. Who knows what happened to your grandfather to turn him into such a monster, to do this damage that reverberates through so many of you. But you and your sister are far braver than he and are filled with the courage needed to work through your trauma, which you didn't deserve and shouldn't have been perpetrated on you, within your own lives so it doesn't continue to perpetrate down the generations. Love and light to you. Answer. I still don't really have memories of my childhood, so I doubt I'll ever be able to unpack it all, but I see flashes and I know that if I dig, more comes up, but I don't really like digging in it TBH. But it was a slap to the face how hard my son's birth impacted me. I wasn't close to ready for that. All of a sudden, I was protective towards my wife, and we argued a lot, bringing us close to separation before I could figure out where it came from and communicate with her. And for the first time in my life, I was forced to be weak. My son has seen me crying, and that's something I would never allow myself to do, even alone before. But I also know that he'll be better off knowing that we too can have emotions. But when he tries to wipe a tear away from my face, my brain kicks into panic mode, because to me, that's him taking responsibility for my emotions. For now, we take it day by day and hope to survive. Everyone around me knows my situation, including my work, so I have a lot of support, and work is basically ready to sign me out anytime. If I need to leave to handle anything, they've asked if I should even be working, but work is a good distraction from my thoughts most of the time. I'd really appreciate if life could just chill a few years, that we could all just be for a while. I need a break, that's all.